An important contribution to the theory of scientific communism. Yes, it's a real thing, goes back to the Soviet Union, and we're currently seeing it right now. Yes, we are. There's also scientific socialism, yes. Because for anybody that doesn't know, what is currently going on is social engineering, yes. All to socially engineer the brain, yes. It's happening on many levels. Yeah, those that are aware of it see it very easily. So a little bit about scientific communism. Obviously, it goes back to the Soviet Union. Scientific communism is one of three major elements of Marxism. The communist literature defines it as the science dealing with general socio-political laws and patterns, ways, forms, and methods of changing society along communist lines, according to the historical mission of the proletariat. In other words, it is the science regarding the working class struggle and the social revolution about the supposed laws behind the building of socialism and communism, and about world revolutionary processes as a whole. In a broader sense, scientific communism can mean Marxism, Leninism as a whole, the scientific expression of the radical interests and objectives involved in the struggle of the working class. In other words, it was the Marx-Leninist school of sociology. And then there is also the scientific socialism, is a term which was coined in 1840 by Pierre-Joseph Proudhon in his book, What is Property? To mean a society ruled by a scientific government. Oh, well, we see what that is now, i.e. one of whose sovereignty rests upon reason rather than sheer will, except it isn't based on reason, because it follows pseudoscience. Yeah, it's a whole... So I want to show you exactly how this plays out, because the higher educated, as I said yesterday and I've said many times, it's shown in research that the higher educated are the easiest to socially engineer, to brainwash. It's called social engineering because you're seen as a machine. You've been trained how to think. This is what you do. You know, never stepping. And the more higher educated you are, the harder it will be to step outside the box. You'd look at somebody like me and say, conspiracy, whack job, conspiracy theorist. No, this is history. So here's how it plays out right now. Some people have heard of this group. Yes, white coats for black lives. Yeah, this is a doctor. Obviously, there's... After the George Floyd that they made into a golden calf, okay? That's basically what Black Lives Matter was created to do. And then there was all the rallies, and then the healthcare system, along with nursing, as I keep saying, got on board with this health equity. That was all from this, but ultimately it all goes back to that globalist, because globalism is communism on a global level. So many of these doctors, just shows you, all have been socially engineered, and they would be the least to listen to somebody like me, because they have been trained that no, we only listen to the people that have all the education. Yet all of these doctors all did this in lockstep, just like all the hospitals and our public health, CDC, and nursing and medical associations all got on board with systemic racism is the new #1 public health crisis. This is exactly how the psychopaths of Marxism and Leninism did it. Yep, you see, these are all doctors. I mean, maybe some of them nurses, but White Coats for Black Lives is an organization for doctors. And again, they'll write their fluffy, pretty papers about how they care about the health disparities. No, this is all out of the playbook of Karl Marx, Soviet Union. Yep, White Coats for Black Lives. You can see it was... This went up, I think, in 2020. These people came out of the hospital in their white coats, and they don't realize it. They don't realize that, I mean, because they've been told it in such a pretty way. Instead of saying, yeah, we're here to socially engineer you, they say, no, we have to think about the health disparity. Yeah, the same. This is what they used in Germany prior to gas chambers. Yep. Enough is enough. White coat. They're all white coats for Black lives. And this is ridiculous. This is a doctor with a sign saying we can't breathe because of George Floyd. But here, when I see this picture, all I want to say is then if you're a doctor, take off your damn mask, okay? It's hard to breathe in a mask. You see all of them? Yep. And it's all designed when they get people to do this, then everybody else will jump on board with it. That's what the social engineering is all about. You're a machine and you're being socially, and your machine is being engineered. If you are neutral in situation of injustice, you have I don't know what it says, something about you're the oppressor. No, they're the oppressor. Most of these people don't realize it. They don't. They don't realize it. And again, the higher educated are the least to see it because, again, they have lived in the world that, no, I either listen to people that are my same status, racism, my same education, and yet that education, I'm not trying to bash all of education, but there's a reason why they want you to get degree after degree because it trains you in how to be. Back in the Soviet Union, they had what was called the New Soviet Man. Yes, building the New Soviet Man. They even had what was called engineering of the human soul. That's how much these people know how to do this. They've done it forever. And propaganda, and this is propaganda, is one of those ways. Do these people realize it? No. Most of the people in these marches with BLM, most of the people in the marches with LGBTQ, most of the people in the pro-Palestinian marching, they have no idea what they're going along with. They don't, but they think they do, and they think they critically think. But they've just been socially engineered. It's a science. It came from the science. So now there's a difference. There's positive social engineering in many ways, but this is all negative because all of this goes back to death. It does, and this is why I say death. Not saying all these people are that they just don't realize it. They don't realize that Black Lives Matter is funded by George Soros. Actually, they've gone bankrupt now pretty much. But they don't know where most of the money went. Well, it went to the top people of Black Lives Matter. George Soros put them up pretty. They're in big mansions. Yeah, because they have agitators. Many of the people you see in these protests, when you see it's designed, oh, look at all the people protesting. Oh, my God, look at what's happening. Yeah, and most of them in that protest are paid. And yeah, they bring people on board because they play on emotions, okay? But here's how you know it's not a good thing to get involved with. First of all, the name alone, Black Lives Matter. That's not the only lives that matter. But you try to argue that with them, and they give you these ridiculous, but more than that, it's more than that. Fine if you want to call yourselves that, but they set cars on fire. So when I saw this group pop up, it just told me, oh yeah, brainwashed. Because you shouldn't support Black Lives Matter, the organization. You should support, as doctors, as physicians, you should support all lives. But this is how much the social engineering has worked. They know how to do this stuff. They do. So most of them are agitators. They're paid, Antifa, BLM. But what they ultimately are about is death and destruction. I'm not saying everybody that marches with them. I'm not saying all these doctors are. These doctors just are not thinking like many people in all these groups. Now, these are the groups to be aware of, be concerned about, because what they ultimately end up chanting is death. If you are part, and this is, I can't see the date. I think this was an old one though. But they've chanted for a long time, Black Lives Matter. Pigs in a blanket, fry 'em like bacon. It's about death and destruction. You don't want to be hanging with this group. If they're pulling you in, it's because they're socially engineering you. Next is this group. This is not a group you want to hang with. I don't have anything against the gay community, adults. They can do what they want. The trans part of that has been socially engineering children. That's their design. And at their marches, they chant, "We're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children." That's predatory behavior. You don't want anything to do with this group. And then lastly, gas the Jews. That was said recently in Australia. You hear the death chants. And this is 2020. BLM was already on board with the pro-Palestinians.